Cue niyo ako for the show.
This
But there is still a final list of national candidates. The Commission on Elections has trimmed the number of presidential aspirants from 15 to 10, and this could still change. Former Senator Bongbong Marcos is dealing with a number of cases seeking to disqualify him from the race as he makes his case for no show at a Comelec hearing because he was sick while granting 2 radio interviews the previous day. In all these exchanges, the question remains, will a popular candidate be eliminated from the presidential race or just let the people decide his fate? And amid reports of alleged hacking of its servers, supposedly compromising voter information, the Comelec confronts issues of integrity about the automated election system. Good evening, I'm Pia Hontiveros. Welcome to your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. Our first guest tonight, a legal expert and political analyst, Dean Tony Lavinia. Good evening, Dean Tony. You're here because I wanted to talk to you about this whole issue about the disqualification cases against Bongbong Marcos, the petition to cancel his certificate of candidacy. That's hanging in the balance. Comelec's about to decide in the next few days, as they've said, on or before January 17. So your perspective on this, but more precise, because it kind of stirred a hornet's nest, no? Yung mga sinasabi po ninyo, tas nagkaroon ng interpretation, no? So let's begin with, what is it that you actually really said? You were just giving scenarios, possible reasons, scenarios for the Comelec to decide on the cases against Bongbong.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. That particular point that has been issued as a press release and memes by Marcos supporters was taken from a long interview with Christian Esguerra of ANC, where we explored different options. I did not advocate either the disqualification or the dismissal of the petitions or the cancellation or disqualification of Bongbong Marcos or its dismissal. I was just pointing to the process. Starts with the Comelec, with the 2 divisions of the Comelecs where the petitions have been lodged. That will then be, of course, appealed. Whatever decision will probably be appealed to the Comelec and Bank, after which it will go to the Supreme Court. And these are very important cases that will go to the Supreme Court, regardless of how the Comelec rules. No? And in the context of the discussion, I said it could go either way. To be honest, there's a strong argument for cancellation and disqualification. But there's also an argument for saving the candidacy of Bongbong Marcos, and I do not pretend to be a Comelec commissioner, certainly Chair Abbas or Commissioner Guanzon or the other commissioners chairing the 2nd Division. I do not presume to be them. I respect them. I respect their independence. I will support their decision. And the same with Supreme Court as well. But what?
So Dean, what you were saying, really, what you were trying to explain was context and analysis, because that is what you do. Giving context, giving analysis, giving us the possible scenarios, like you said, no arguments for and against. Just throwing out Bongbong Marcos's candidacy, right?
Yes, and then elaborating the scenarios. That's important because I think national interest is at stake in the decisions that Comelec and the Supreme Court will make here. And the one that got the attention, delayed by the way, because this was December 31 when I did that interview, so a week delay. The one that got the attention was when I said one possible situation depending on the timing, is that the process might actually end up where the court, it should be the court, because the Comelec has all the time to decide this. They can decide this in January, and that's what it seems to happen, or February. But if it goes to the election day or post-election day, when there is already a winner, or one who got the most number of votes, and if it's going to be, if Bongbong Marcos loses, the disqualification case doesn't even have to be decided. It will be moot and academic, right? But if he wins, then there will be a challenge, an issue, and the court will have to decide whether they'll make that decision. And that's what I was saying, that the court, that matter can decide not to. I wasn't saying that I'm the court and this is what the court should do. I was saying that it can happen like that. And my point is, near to election day, these decisions should not be made because it can create serious havoc in our democracy. The decision, that's what I clarified in my column today in the Manila Standard, the decision all the way down to the Supreme Court should be made by March, at least before Holy Week. So in the last month, you actually know who are the qualified candidates, and the voters will vote on that basis of who is a qualified candidate. I was telling Chair Abbas that in the case of Grace Poe, we came dangerously close to the election. The final decision was made on the last week of April, 2 weeks before the election. I think that is actually a disservice when it happens that way. I mean, of course, we leave it to the Supreme Court on how it will do that. We leave it to the Comelec, but I was also pointing out that already the Comelec decision has been delayed compared to the Grace Poe case. That was decided early December, and now we're now in first week of January. Hopefully, by the end of January, the Comelec would have decided all the way down to the end bank, or early February. Then it goes to the Supreme Court. Then it becomes very dangerously close to the election day.
Dean Tony, talk to us about this, yung isa sa mga sinasabi po ninyo, because at the moment, in pre-campaign, and we have to emphasize that, pre-campaign surveys, Bongbong Marcos is leading by miles. No, he is a very, very clear front runner, and that may present a problem. Correct, in terms, if Comelec, for example, or the Supreme Court eventually, decides, okay, let's throw his candidacy out, no, tapos front runner siya, no. How does that, how's it gonna impact on everything?
Well, that's why they need to decide this as early as possible, because for example, if it's very close to the election, on the eve of the election, when and you have to understand, there's the Comelec decision, there's the division decision, and then there's the Comelec and bank decision, because it will be appealed there, and then there's the Supreme Court petitions that are filed. There has to be a TRO if Marcos is disqualified. Although I think the ballots are already being printed, so maybe that's not even an issue, because he will be in the ballot anyway until the final thing is resolved. I don't know if the Supreme Court will order oral arguments. Grace Poe's oral arguments lasted for 6 weeks. I don't know if this one will last for 6 weeks, but certainly for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it could last, right? So it comes dangerously close to the election. And my point simply is that at that point, it becomes challenging. And you're right. If this is a candidate that has no chance of winning, the Comelec will not even spend a lot of time on it, because it's given their priorities. And we've seen that in the past.
Dean,
no? Or if it is not the
Dean
presidency.
Tony, Dean Tony, we just need to take a very quick break. We have to take a commercial break right now. We'll be right back. Politics as usual. Be right back. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. This is Politics as usual. We're still joined by Dean Tony Lavinia. Dean Tony, we have about like 3 minutes to just wrap this up. What else do we have to remember? You know, because kaya nga I pointed out, no, survey frontrunner, well, pre-campaign survey frontrunner. You know, of course, we have no idea what's going to happen when the campaign begins. But if you're going to talk about canceling his COC or disqualifying him, what does that do to these people who, although they're hindi naman ito botante, no, sa survey pa lang, what does that mean?
Well, qualifications are qualifications, no? And so I agree naman with that point that that has to be decided as long as it's decided within a time frame that makes sense for democracy. You know? I mean, and I think that's what we should really focus on here in the months to come. No, I mean, the thing is, if it's decided early, if it's a disqualification, Marcos can be substituted by another Marcos. So you can expect Aimee, for example, and I suppose the voters of Bongbong will support Aimee, and in a way that will happen. If it's a cancellation, then he never ran at all, and then the voters will have to find someone else to support. Right now, what they're saying, the last poll of Octa says that it's Isko Moreno that has the second choice of many of those voters, but that's not also set in stone. I mean, but that's really the case. I mean, that's really what's the challenge with disqualifications, because it comes right at the time when the campaigns are beginning, and the campaigns are about these candidates. But if this candidate gets disqualified, but has already convinced a group of voters, it does leave those group of voters hanging, and that's not necessarily good for democracy. I emphasize in my writing here that if, for example, especially a scenario where a person wins an election, doesn't have to be Marcos, but a person wins an election and then is disqualified after the election, that really creates instability. You know, I mean,
Right.
fraud,
It's like
fraud
disenfranchising
creates,
all these people who voted for him, right?
perception of fraud creates instability. You know, I gave the example. I actually wrote another longer piece about this. I gave the example of President Arroyo, who I thought would have been a very good president, a great president, well prepared for it. But because he took power under EDSA DOS, which was seen as illegitimate by many of our voters, especially the poor who voted for Estrada, she had a mantle of illegitimacy in her first 4 years or first 3 years. And then when she ran for 2004, that was aggravated by the charges of fraud by the Fernando Po camp. And what we had was another 6 years of highly politicized governance. No? That's bad for the country. When the mandate of the winner is not clear,
it's put under
because
question.
the election was won through a legal means and not through the ballot, that is not good for the country by any means.
All right. Well, Dean Tony Lavinia, I do hope we can have you back here on the show very soon. There's still much to talk about. Hindi pa rin ito tapos. And as a matter of fact, when the Comelec comes out with its decision, I'd like to have you back on the show. So we'll call you po. Dean Tony Lavinia, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We're now joined by our second guest, Comelec Chairman Sharif Abbas. Good evening, Chairman Abbas. Since pinag-uusapan na po natin yung mga disqualification cases, petitions to cancel yung COC ni BBM, ni Bongbong Marcos, can we start with that? The announcement was that posible on or before January 17, and that's already next week. Comelec is going to come out with a decision. Magpapasya na po ba talaga kayo?
Yes, good evening, Ms. Pia. We have to understand that there were 9 petitions filed against Bongbong Marcos. At liban po dyan, marami ding mga petitions sa ibang kandidato from national to local yung hinihear ng 2 division. So doon sa second division, I think 2 case yung nauna doon. And then nitong last week, nag-hear ata yung first division at kinonsolidate nila yung tatlong petition. So mayroon pang natitirang 4 na hindi pa na-hear. From my information sa division, mukhang palalabasin nila within the week or next week yung sa second division, and then yung first, they will try it to decide it maybe next week. So yun yung mga discussions ng dalawang division. Then of course, whether sinong manalo or matalo, aakyat yan definitely sa NBank. So another pa naman yun, memorandum. So siguro abutan talaga ng February, hanggang February yung decision ng NBank. So tama po si Dean, medyo compared mo sa Grace po na disqualification case, medyo nahuli po ito. But medyo hindi mo rin ma-compare. It's because sa case ni Bongbong Marcos, 9 po yung petition. Samantalang kay Grace po, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, parang dalawa lang yung disqualification.
So parang, Chairman, so like you said, so 9. So ang mangyayari nito, halimbawa, manalo ang kampo ni Bongbong sa isa. So 1 down, 8 to go, 2 down,
Yes.
7 to go. Gano'n, paunti-unti. But,
Yes.
like Dean Tony was explaining, lalo na halimbawa, kunyari, manalo, abutin ng eleksyon. Ang laking gulo nun, hindi po ba? And kahit na hindi abutin ng eleksyon ng voting day, if even a month or 2 before that, malaking gulo pa rin yan. And I don't know, will Comelec consider that this man is leading in emphasis on pre-campaign surveys at the moment?
Yes, depende sa decision pa din yan, Pia, kasi as already pointed out, if it is a cancellation, kahit manalo ka, if canceled yung COC mo, baliwala na yon. If it is DQ naman, pwedeng substitution, anyone from the Marcos camp with the same surname, pwedeng mag-substitute. So depende yan, Ms. Pia, sa magiging desisyon. But definitely sa amin, Ms. Pia, pinapabilis na din namin lahat ng mga cases na pending sa amin. Not only the Marcos case, but some other cases na pending sa amin. So pinapabilis namin. Medyo marami lang cases ngayon. Like for example, yung nuisance case lang namin is umabot I think ng mga 200 plus. Yung DQ ng national and local, ganun din, mga 200 cases din yan. So medyo madami-dami. But of course, itong mga high profile, medyo inuuna namin to, Ms. Pia.
Chairman Abbas, naalala ko noong 2016 polls, nagsampang si Bongbong Marcos ng electoral protest against Lenny, claiming na dinaya siya. So ito ngayon, meron na naman siyang challenge sa kanyang kandidatura. At the same time, there are many concerns, and this is a question that we will ask you to respond to after the break. Itong mga allegations of hacking of Comelec information, the system, but we'll ask you to take that question, to respond to that question after this break. More from Chairman Sharif Abbas of the Comelec. When we come back, this is Politics as Usual. Welcome back. This is Politics as Usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. Still with us, the Chairman of the Commission on Elections, Sharif Abbas. Chairman Abbas, itong allegations of hacking, ano po ba talaga ang nangyari? Na-hack po ba? Are our elections in danger or not?
Yes, Ms. Pia, we received the information, yung report nga from Manila Bulletin yesterday. At immediately nung natanggap ko yung balita, I immediately called the Director of the Information and Technology Department namin para i-check yung mga systems namin kung meron nga ba talagang breach. So after an hour, bumalik siya sa akin at sinabi niyang, Sir, medyo negative, mukhang fake news yung balita. It's because wala pa naman po tayong final na data para i-configure. Kasi January 15 pa kami mag-configure ng mga data namin na ipapasok sa system ng VCM. So sa ngayon, Ms. Pia, sure ako na walang hacking na nangyari. Pangalawa,
Okay.
if ang sinasabi naman nila is hacking sa aming website, wala namang mga information na nandoon. Babalikan ko, Pia, no? Ang configuration namin is sa January 15 pa. Kung sinabi nilang hinak nila nung Sabado, that was January 8. So wala pang any information na na-upload sa aming system. Kasi doon ka palang magkakaroon ng PIN numbers at passwords kapag nalagay na sa system ng VCM. But sabi ko nga, it is quite impossible, sabi ng director ng Information Technology Department namin, na ma-hack yung isang system or isang data na hindi pa naman existence.
So Chairman Abbas, kanina ang sabi po ninyo, ang sabi ng director ng Info and Tech Department nyo is medyo negative. Pasensya na po kayo pero sa journalist kasi I'd rather hear negative talaga or medyo negative. Kasi parang medyo negative is like medyo totoo. So,
yes,
negative talaga,
medyo,
Chairman.
Ang sinasabi kong medyo, it's because initial na checking pa lang namin yun, Ms. Pia. Ido-double check pa din namin and then we will issue a final report within the week. So kaya nga medyo ang sinabi ko, it's because initial na assessment pa lang yon ng aming information
Well,
technology.
initial assessment, but when you're the head of an agency and this guy, for example, the Info and Tech Department head, no, he should know whether na-hack ba talaga o hindi na, he can tell you, Chairman, huwag kayong mag-alala, walang nangyari talagang, wala pa tayo na input, wala talaga na fake news lang talaga ang dyaryo na yan, ganon. And how is that possible?
Yes, definite naman
where
yung
would they
sagot niya.
get that?
Yes, Ms. Pia, definite naman yung sagot niya sa akin. Pero sabi nga niya, i-double check pa din natin, sir, para sigurado tayo. But doon sa kanyang initial assessment nga, definite naman yung answer niya na wala nga kasi nga imposible nga. Imposible na ma-hack yung information na hindi pa naman existing. So sabi naman niya, as to the precinct finder, for example, yung sinasabi nilang mga data about the voter information, wala pa naman kaming precinct finder dahil inaayos pa na yun ng DICT. So that is why, Ms. Pia, we are quite definite or certain na walang hacking na nangyayari. So yun na nga, yun ang yung challenge namin doon sa report. Sana magkipagtulungan sila sa amin. Titingnan natin kung ano yung sinasabi nilang na-hack para at least kahit papano ma-double check natin. Kasi napakadaling... Yes. Alam mo, Ms. Pia, nalulungkot lang din kami. It's because napakadaling mag-accuse. Pero ang impact nung kasi, Ms. Pia, napakalaki. Exactly. Kaya ngayon yung pakiusap namin sa mga media partners natin na bago sila sumulat or magpahayag ng mga ganyang klaseng information, i-validate muna nila sa amin. Kasi hindi nila na naiisip, Ms. Pia, yung lawak or yung impact ng ganong klaseng report na
we understand.
Naman, wala naman.
We understand the implication of this because when you say in a report that na-hack yung Comelec, yung system ng Comelec, agad-agad it will put into question the credibility of the coming elections, no? And we're talking about credibility, we're talking about integrity, the people's faith in the elections, right, Chairman?
Kaya nga, Ms. Pia. Hindi ko alam talaga anong purpose ng mga ganyang klaseng report, no? Hindi ko alam kung panggugulo lang, but definitely that is a fake news. So if it is a fake news, talagang may malis yung pagpapalabas ng ganong klaseng report. But yun na nga, sana hindi basta-basta magpapalabas yung sino mang mga kaibigan natin sa media kung hindi verified o hindi man lang kami natanong.
Okay, well, malice, I don't know about that. But Chairman also, on the other hand, syempre, naiintindihan nyo rin naman sa Comelec yung the level of concern and worry that's going to happen because of this. And syempre, para bang, you can imagine ang taong bayan saying, siguraduhin nyo ha, na wala tayong problema dahil naku po, ang laking gulo nito. Correct, Chairman?
Yes, I agree, Ms. Pia. No? But, kami naman natuto na kami because na-hack din kami noong 2016. Lahat ng mga protocols ngayon, Ms. Pia, dinoble namin yung aming pag-iingat, whether it would be cyber or cyber security or physical security ng aming mga system at infrastructure, talagang dinoble ingat namin yan. As a matter of fact, constant yung aming coordination with the Data Privacy Commission at pinaiksi namin, Ms. Pia, yung mga pwede lang mag-access. Halimbawa, yung voter information before nasa pwedeng i-access yan ng election officer namin from munisipyo or city. But ngayon, inakyat namin sa province. So kung may 82 province lang tayo in the Philippines, so 82 katao lang ang pwedeng mag-access noon plus the May. Siguro hindi abutin ng mga 150 ang pwedeng mag-access doon sa voter information. So ganun namin sinala yung aming sistema, Ms. Pia.
Chairman Abbas, we only have a minute to go and I wanted to ask you this one final question. No? So parang there are so many clouds hanging over our election. So you have itong mga DQ cases laban kay BBM, itong these allegation about hacking, which you say, as far as you know, initial, huwag kayo mag-alala, no? walang na-hack. Pero at the same time, halimbawa kayo po, and this is something we've already brought up before. February 2, magre-retire na po kayo. At dalawa pang commissioners ang magre-retire din. Si Rowena Guanzon, Commissioner Guanzon, and Commissioner Antonio Co. So that means tatlong bagong mukha. And I know I asked you this before. I think that was about 2 months ago. But now that we're inching even closer to the elections, the more important it becomes, no? Can you reassure us that we will have no problems in the elections because half of the commission bago ang mukha by February?
Wala naman, Ms. Pia, no? Because yung tao or yung members ng NBank pwedeng magpalit, but yung proseso namin, Ms. Pia, nandyan na yan. Okay, so walang dapat ipangamba yung ating publiko. Whether in the preparation or even the cases, I'm sure na magagampanan ng bagong tatlo miyembro ng NBank yung kanilang tungkulin. So, hindi problema yan, Ms. Pia, because even ako, na-experience ko nung 2019 or 2016, nagpalit din kami bagong pasok ako, but madali lang naman ako naka-adjust. And then nung 2019 ata, 4 na lang kaming natira. So naitawid din namin yung 2019 election na kahit 4 lang kami. So hindi problema yun, Ms. Pia, for as long as mayroong natirang 4 na majority.
Naitawid. Naitawid. Naku, Diyos ko. Anyway, Chairman Sharif Abbas ng Commission on Elections, I hope to have you back on the show. Ang dami pa rin pong pag-uusapan like I told Dean Tony kanina. Salamat po, sir. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Salamat din, Ms. Pia. Thank you so much.
We've been told before, don't talk politics at the dinner table or at a family reunion or in Viber groups and risk digital warfare. But we can talk about it here on the show, your weekly political appointment fix. Politics as usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. See you back here next Tuesday, 8:30 p.m.